Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make modals with your Java Discord bot using the Java Discord API.
I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing. Sitting there gaslighting and confusing. Was it me? Is it me? Am I deluded?
Alright guys, welcome back. So let me show you what we're going to be doing this episode. Like I said, it's a modals, and a modal is when you have one of these. So I'm going to do /sup, and we get a pop-up here. That's a modal. And with this modal, you can provide text information such as a name, Billy Bob, and then I could change this to customize it, and then when I click submit, it's going to do something. In this case, it says, "Sup Billy Bob, blah blah blah, I think you're awesome, just kidding." So that's just a simple modal, and I'll just give you one more example. We'll do multiply. So this one accepts two numbers, so we'll do 1 and 2. And it says the product is 2. Wait, yeah, the product is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. I almost forgot. And yeah, it responds as an ephemeral message, which we learned about in the previous episode with slash commands. So modals are actually a really new feature to Discord, and especially the Java Discord API. So this is an alpha feature. Specifically, it's the latest version of JDA. So if we go to our pom.xml here, we have the version of 5.0.0-alpha.11. This is the exact version that allows modals, and also this is the latest version at the time of recording. So it may change. They may add new things to the modal feature. But if they do change or add anything, then I'm going to re-record this episode and provide you guys with updated information. So just be aware of that. So just make sure that you have the latest version, and you should be good to go to be able to follow this episode. And you can find more information on this if you go to the interwebs. So here's the JDA page, Java Discord API, and then go to, let's see, releases. You can see the latest release is the one I just showed you, modals. And yeah, so you have all this information. You got some sample code here, and you can refer to this if you want to. And this is where you can see other future releases when they come out as well, okay? So let's get started here. I'm going to show you guys how to make a modal. And so to demonstrate making a modal, we're going to make a simple slash command so that we can trigger the modal creation. So make commands. We'll call it bot command, bot commands, plural. Extends listener adapter. Okay, and so we're going to need the listener for a slash command, so code override methods, and we're going to find the one for slash command. There we go. And so we learned before that you can reply to an interaction, or you have to reply to an interaction for it to be completed successfully. And usually that's done with a message. Usually you reply to a slash command interaction with a message, but you can also now reply with a modal if you want to. And modals are created with text inputs. They can only accept text at the moment. That's the only downside. They are pretty cool because it does parse the text, meaning that you can set requirements like a minimum amount of characters, a max amount of characters, but it does not accept numbers or any other special inputs at the moment, which makes me sad because that would be really cool, just like how we have it with slash commands. You can have different types of data that you accept as input, but for now you can't do that. If they do add it, I'll update this video. So to make a text input, we're going to do text input, and we'll say name is equal to, import that. So then we can do text input dot create. And the first thing that we want to provide is a unique identifier for this modal input, this text input, so that whenever we interact with it, we know what we're interacting with. So similar to how our slash commands have unique identifiers, just the the name of the command, this is also a unique identifier because you can have different text inputs and they need to be uniquely identified for you to handle them differently. So we'll just call this one a name that kind of makes sense. So if this is the /sup command, we're just going to do /sup name. That's how we're going to refer to that. And then the label is just how it visually appears. So we're just going to say name. And then now text input style. So this is just a simple enumerator that you have to provide. So you have paragraph, short, or unknown. Those are the only three options for now. And so paragraph is for if you want to provide a longer piece of text, and then short is if you want to provide a short piece of text. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So we're just going to keep it short because we're only asking for a name. And then now, because this is following the builder pattern, this is going to be returning a text input builder. We can provide more information, set, and then you have all these options here, just like we have, kind of like how we have a bunch of options when we're making slash command options. So we have, is it required? So we can set a placeholder, required range of characters, label, we already set that, max length, min length, style, already did that, and then value. You can set a default value as you saw in the example before. But Yeah, so let's just go ahead and set the min requirement or the min length to 1. So they need to provide at least one character for this to be valid input. And then also it's going to be required, so true. And then when we're done, we just build it, and that will give us a text input object, and we're storing that into a variable. Now let's have the second one. So text input message is equal to text input dot create. This one will be called sup dash message. And yeah, so the way that this command works, by the way, I should probably mention that as you saw in the example, you provide a name and then a message, and then it's just going to say that into the channel that you run the slash command in. So yeah, you'll see. Pretty simple stuff. So message, text input, style paragraph, because a message is a longer piece of text usually, so it makes sense to have that as a paragraph type. And so we're gonna set a min requirement of, in this case, we'll do 10, and then set max to 100. Doesn't really matter. And then set required true. And let's just go ahead and set a placeholder for this so you can see what a placeholder looks like. So this is like, it's very similar to having an initial value within the text input, except that it's not actually in the text input, it just appears. You'll see what I mean in a second. So we'll say put a cool message here, and then we'll build it. So now that we've created the text inputs that will make up our modal, let's actually build that into an actual modal and then send the modal to someone. So modal is equal to modal.create. Now we need a modal, just like the text inputs have unique identifier, this one also needs one. So in this case, we'll just call it sup modal. And then we'll say what's up. That's the title of the modal that you see at the top. And then add action rows is how you add the individual text inputs. So to do that, you're going to do action row dot of, and then pass in the text input. And then you can provide as many as you need. So action row dot of message. And those are our text inputs, boom. And then when you're done, build it. And that's all you gotta do right there. So now that we've built the modal with the two text inputs, we're going to reply to the slash command with that modal as the response. So a modal, when you send a modal and you open a modal for a person, that's gonna be a new interaction. So essentially we're replying with this interaction, the slash command interaction, with a new interaction. And yeah, so everything is kind of like interactions now, which is pretty cool. So event.reply modal. And you can also see that you don't have to reply with just modals or messages. You can reply with a file format. I'm not sure what this one does, and embeds as well, which we'll learn about. But yeah, reply modal, pass in modal. There you go. And don't forget to queue it, of course. And yeah, let's see what that looks like. Let's go ahead and register our command here. So we're going to go back here, do add event listeners, new bot commands, plural. And then we're going to add this as a guild command. So guild is equal to jda.get guild by ID. Go back here, copy the ID. Make sure you watch my slash commands episode if you haven't. And then guild.upsert command rather, sup. And then description will say what's up to someone. Okay, cool. There we go. I think that's it. Oh, don't forget to queue it. All right, so now let's run this and see if it pops up. See if it works. Okie dokie, it's loaded now, so we'll do slash command, or slash sup rather. And it says, well, say what's up. And here's our say what's up modal. It says say what's up, that's the title that we set it as. Then we have the name, that's the first text input, and then the message, second text input. And here's the placeholder, as you can see, it says put a cool message here, but it's not actually inside of it, it's just like a shadow type of thing. Similar to HTML if you've ever used HTML. But the really cool thing about these modals is it has this parsing, right? It tells you it must be between 10 and 100 in length, and it won't let you submit it if these do not meet the requirements specified, right? So that's pretty freaking cool. That's what makes these so powerful. And if it did accept other data types like numbers and drop downs and stuff like that, it would be even cooler. So I hope they do add stuff, capability for that. But yeah, let's make a message here. So we'll say Johnny, you smell like a wet sock. Submit. And nothing happens because we have not added a interaction listener for the modal interaction. Like I said, when we create this modal here, it's going to make a new interaction, and we have to respond to that interaction just as we do with the slash command interaction, all right? So we could put the modal interaction listener inside of here if you want to, but this is called bot commands, so we're going to make a new listener. How about that? Just for more structure. So modal listeners extends listener adapter. And so code override methods, and now we need to find the one for modals. So here it is, on modal interaction. So this will work pretty much the exact same way as with slash commands. So if event.getModalID.equals, and then the ID that we set was submodal. And now inside of here, we want to grab the data passed into the modal as input. And so we'll do string name is equal to event.getValue. Get value is how you get stuff from the inputs. So get value, and then now that's going to be the ID of the input. So the first one we gave it ID of sup-name. So sup-name, and then we want to get it as a string. That's the only thing you can do right now. String message is equal to event.getValue sup-message. And then you get this warning highlighting here because this could be null if there is no text input called sup-name. But because we set it as required when we created the modal, these will always exist as long as you put the right ID. So you don't really have to check it to make sure it's not null if you don't want to, but to be proper, you might want to do that. But just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to check it to make sure this is not null. I think you understand the point. So to complete this interaction, we could go ahead and reply to it just like we did with our slash command. So event.reply, and then pass in a message. So our message can be something like sup name, and then period message, and then Q. And there you go. That's how you reply to the modal interaction. Really that simple. So now let's go ahead and register this listener here before we test it out. So we can just comma and then do new modal listeners. And there you go. And we should probably move this out of the commands package, or let's just rename the commands package to listeners. That would probably make more sense, right? There you go. Now let's restart this, and we should have a modal that allows us to do stuff now. So it's still up here, it looks like, so we'll do submit again. And it says, sup Johnny, message, you smell like a wet sock. Awesome, it worked. Let's try it again. There you go, cool. Pretty simple stuff, right? Really easy to get started, as you can see. So now let's go ahead and make it so that, I want to show you how to do something cool, which is make it so that if you pass in a valid name, a name of someone who's actually on your server, it's able to grab that and then ping that person. I think that would be a really cool feature. So let me show you how you can ping someone. So let's actually go back to our bot commands here. Let's actually change this. So we're going to set a default value so you can see what that looks like as well. We'll say you smell like a wet sock. So this input here will have this value already in it, kind of similar to a placeholder, except that it's actually there, not just like a shadow. And then for this one, we'll have a placeholder, the recipient, something like that. So first we have to figure out if there's a person on our server with this name that was passed in. So to do that, you can do that a few ways I've seen. So you can do event.getGuild.getMembers by name, which just returns a list of members. So get members by name, pass in the name, and then ignore case, true, I don't really care. And then stream.find first. So this will essentially take your list that was returned with all the members that match that name, and then find the first one and return that as a optional. So control Q returns a optional describing the first element of the stream, or an empty optional if the stream is empty. So if there is no values in the list, then it'll just give us an empty optional. And if you don't know what an optional is, it's essentially a cool little Java object that allows you to optionally have a value. That's really as simple as it is. So let me show you. So optional member from JDA, and we'll say member optional is equal to that. Import optional. And optional is a Java thing, by the way. It's from Java specifically. It's not a JDA thing. And then we'll say if member optional dot is present, meaning that there is actually a value inside of the optional, then we're going to go ahead and ping that person in the message. So event.reply, we'll say sup, and then to ping them, we'll do member optional dot get, that gets the actual member, and then we want to get as a mention, and then we want to just add on to that, and we'll say message. So that's also very simple, pretty self-explanatory. You're just getting a member object representing the member on the server if they exist, and then getting it as a mention, which is how you ping them, and we're sending that message. And then otherwise, if the member optional does not have a member, then we're going to go ahead and just send the regular message that we had before, okay? There you go. So that's how you do that. So let's go ahead and see if this works. So reload here, pass in the name. So we'll say Cody Simpson. That's my current username. You smell like a wet sock. Oops. Submit. And it says sup Cody Simpson, and it pings me, message, you smell like a wet sock. So it works perfectly. Now let's provide a name that does not exist on this server. So Wiener, you smell like a wet sock, submit. Then it says sup Wiener without pinging them because there's no one to ping. Perfect. Okie dokie, so let me give you one more example of how to make a modal, except that this time we're going to allow it to accept numbers. So like I said a bunch of times already in this episode, modals themselves are not able to take and parse in actual numbers. It can only take in strings or characters. So what we have to do is add the logic for parsing numbers to make sure that what the user provides is actually a number. We have to add that logic ourselves until they add something like that, maybe in the future. So inside of bot commands, we're going to add another command, the multiply command I showed you before. And it looks like we actually never checked to see which command was being handled here. That's a mistake. Hopefully you noticed that. So we want to do event.getName.equals sup. That's a very bad mistake that I made. And then our second slash command here will be event.getName.equals and then multiply is the name of the command. So here we go. Here's the modal for this one. We have text input, which is operand 1, so the first number. And this is a short input. And then we have operand 2, just another short input. And they're both required. And then they also both have a minimum length of 1 character. And that's it. That's just what the modal is. It has 2 inputs for both of the numbers that you're going to multiply. And then let's go ahead and make our modal listener for that. So we're going to add else if event.get modal ID dot equals multiply modal. That's what we named it. So string num1 is equal to event.get value operand 1 dot get a string num2 is equal to event.get value operand 2 dot get a string. And obviously these are not numbers and we can't multiply strings, so we need to convert it to a number. So we can do that by doing integer num1 int is equal to integer dot parse integer. That takes in a string and it's going to attempt to convert it to a string, or to a number rather, integer. So we're going to do num1 and then integer num2 integer is equal to integer dot parse int, pass in num2. So that will attempt to convert the string into an integer value. If it cannot convert it, then it will throw a number format exception. So that's how you know if it's a number or not. So we'll just surround this with a try and catch. Number format exception EX. And so if that exception is caught, then what we want to do is reply to the event, or not the event, the interaction, the modal interaction, and say one of the numbers was not a number. So that's how you can add your own parsing logic. And we're just going to go ahead and send this as an ephemeral message so that only the person who's working with the modal can see it only, not everyone on the server. And then if these are numbers, meaning that no exception was caught, it got past that point, then we can go ahead and multiply them. So integer product is equal to num1 int times num2 int. And then we can go ahead and reply to the interaction. Apply the product is product.q. And there you go. So now we have our bot command here, the new multiply command that accepts 2 numbers into the modal. And then when we submit that modal, we're going to have this listener here catch it and then process it's going to parse the numbers to see if they're actually numbers. And if it is, then it's going to get the result, multiply it, and then send it to you as a reply to the interaction. So let's go ahead and restart this to see if it works. Oh yeah, we almost forgot we need to register the multiply command. So we'll go here and do guild.upsert command multiply to numbers. Okie dokie, so we'll do /multiply. And then we have our modal here. So operand 1 will say 20 or 34. And then operand 2 will do 1. And that should be 34. Submit. It says the product is 34. Now let's do one where it's not actually a number. So we'll say poop sauce. And then we'll have 2. And it says one of the numbers was a number. Oh wait, I put the wrong thing, didn't I? Let's see, modal listeners, one of the numbers was not a number. There we go. Hopefully you caught that. But there you go. That's how you can do modals. Very, very simple. It's a cool new feature of JDA, Java Discord API. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode and you found it interesting. All the source code for today's episode will be in the description below, so go check it out so you can have this as a reference for anything that you want to make. And hopefully you guys can make some cool stuff with this. If you make something cool with modals, then feel free to join our Discord server and share it there. I'd love to see what you guys can create. And that's it. So thanks for watching, everybody, and peace. Alright, so that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. In the description below, I'll leave a link to the code for this episode so you can check it out. You can bookmark it, come back to it later. If you forget any concepts or you just want to review the concepts I taught in this video, I'll mark everything up with comments so you can come back and read the code without having to rewatch the video, although your reviews are greatly appreciated. So yeah, I'll leave a link for that in the description below, so make sure to check it out. And another thing is I'll leave a link to our Discord server. It's a big community for programmers, so you can ask for help on your programming projects if you're stuck on something, or maybe you can get some new friends. If you don't have any friends, there's lots of people here. It's growing really fast. You can find lots of people who are passionate about the same things as you. For example, if you like Minecraft Spigot development, you can find lots of people who like that. If you like C++, if you like Java, if you like web development, it's a really, really big programming community. So feel free to join. There's a link for that in the description below. And the last thing I want to tell you is that if you want to support this channel, you can click the join button below this video, and you can join this channel as a member for as low as 99 cents a month, and you can cancel at any time. You get some cool perks like early access to all of my new videos, a cool rank on my Discord server like you see right here on the side, YouTube members, and also you get to see yourself on the screen like you see right now. So if that sounds cool to you, feel free to join. If you don't want to, that's fine. If you can't, that's okay too. I really just appreciate you watching the video anyway. And thank you. Thanks a lot. And that's it. So if you like this video, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. And peace.